All right, we are recording again. I see the red dot in the top. All right, Miss Ershley.
One thing I forgot to mention was a position that I had applied for in the fall of 2019. It was a outreach position. I applied for it, and I was familiar with the application process and what you need to be at least able to make it in for an interview. And that's fulfilling the criteria that's put on the application. So I sent in my cover letter and my resume, and my application was not accepted because I did not meet the minimum criteria according to what HR had said. However, I showed them, sent an email showing that the information was there. Anyways, I was not accepted for that position or an interview. And that was one of the positions Andrew Paulson had created that he said he would a year prior to. Julie Katona was hired for that position. So moving back to 2020, we had just hired 2 new admissions counselors because the Amy Ritter, who was working as an admissions counselor, when transferred over to become a math teacher. So let's see. On February 20th, my doctor had written an accommodations letter. So by this time, I had already spoken with the accommodations person. Her name is Tracy Neindorf. And so she had me submit a formal request in and then get a letter from my doctor. So I have that. It's ERD 0337. I'd like submitted into evidence, please.
1 second. All right, 337. Is it just that one page?
Yes.
All right. Attorney Simcox?
No objection.
Admitted.
So it's just asking for equipment and then for the font size to be larger, because we had switched over from during 2019 where the admissions department was switching over from doing all paper applications and entering all the data into trying to get it to be more digitized. So we're in that process. And when the 2 admissions people began, that's when COVID hit. And so we then had I think they were there for about maybe a week, if that. And we were told to do telework. And so the day we were assigned to do telework, we were given these agreements that we had to sign. And I wasn't sure at the time. I wasn't trusting anything at that point. Let's see. Telework. March 19th. Let's see. ERD 0327. And then it's an email, and then it contains the agreement on here.
0327
to 0329.
I have this as
or 25. Let's see. I'm sorry.
okay, 25.
0324 to 03 29.
0329. Okay, and then so what about it?
So this is the agreement, and I had made notes as I saw fit. And that day as well, we were given, my new coworkers were given work phones, iPads, laptops, anything basically they needed to do their job. I was doing all the data entry at that point, and I was sent home with a laptop that was like broke. Somebody must have squeezed the bottom portion of the screen, and so it was distorted, and it made it very hard to read the tiny font that would come in. I wasn't given a phone, so I had to use my personal phone. And what else happened? I believe he gave out my personal information after I had just asked him a couple minutes before that not to give out my personal information. So he had a problem with that. I had sent an email to senior HR about the issues, and anyways, it was I felt it was another retaliatory act for me opposing discrimination. Plus, at this point, I had also filed my EEOC complaint as well. So retaliation after I filed a complaint. Let's see what else. In March 11th, there's an email about me returning to my work duties and dividing the section into 3, because according to the policies, I shouldn't have had a temporary work duty that was extended to that length of time. I did have a performance evaluation done at the December 30th of 2019, and not had a follow-up evaluation. And so when the 3 new admissions counselors started, I wanted to know if we usually divide the alphabet into thirds so that each counselor would be taking a third of the applications that would be coming in. And he wanted to know why. I would think, like, why would I do that? And no, there's no discussion about returning to my regular duties for work. I had never agreed to the unofficial performance improvement plan. I didn't sign anything. It's not a policy. I didn't understand why I was still required to do that. On March 18th, I received a written notice for an investigation. I received that from HR Alyssa Brown. Let's see. So 19th. On the 23rd of March, I had inquired about workman's comp because the health issues I had experienced were due to my work environment. And let's see. There was an investigation where I was accused of multiple things, and then there was another investigation on top of it. It ended up that I didn't receive a discipline. One of the questions was about me taking one of the cadets out and somebody not knowing where we were, and it turned out to be the lead counselor at the time, Kendra Lease, who used to be a counselor, and she took a year or 2 off. she had actually been responsible for the cadet, and I don't know I have to look the whole situation, but I don't know if she was ever investigated, but she would have been the one that, if there was an actual issue, she should have been the one investigated. See, on May 12th, I had an accommodations request. I had not received the mouse, the document holder, the items that my doctor had written in her note. The accommodations were fulfilled pretty much, except for the document holder, which would arrive just a couple days later. They were fulfilled by May 29th then. And there was a doc training that my coworker, Colleen Rapp, had done. She was the secretary, so she worked at headquarters. They had her do the training. I remember walking into headquarters and seeing her do the training. And then I found out when I was assigned teleworking that I was going to use this doc records program. And I wondered why this is the 29th, May 29th is when I was assigned to do it, why I wasn't able to just attend the training like she did, because her job wasn't to do any type of cadet entry or applications and processing and file organization. So I'm not sure if that was a retaliatory act as well. Let's see. I had my evaluation done via Zoom on June 6th or June 10th by Paulson. He made some really, all the marks were all unsatisfactory, even though I had done all the things that he had required me to do. Things were changed again. I didn't know what to do because HR didn't seem to be helping. He sent out I had to do a plan for improvement and send it back. He would have me lead the meetings too, which I wasn't the supervisor. Just see. June 22nd, my telecommunication or teleworking was telecommuting was discontinued due to my accommodations not being provided at home. So I wasn't asked about my health or my concerns. I was just told that it's being discontinued. In June, I was given a letter of expectations after the investigations were concluded. There weren't any findings. That's one moment, please. I'd like to pull those up. I'm not sure. I'll have to pull that up. I'd like that submitted into evidence, though.
All right, once you find it, then you can reference it.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be right this second.
Okay.
If you want to come back to it, yeah. But
Okay.
I can't move it into evidence without knowing which
Okay.
one it is.
Expectations. I was also required in June to work in the building where they were conducting COVID tests. My coworkers had the option to telework, and so they didn't need to flex their schedule. And I could flex my schedule as long as I gave 24 hours notice, but I wasn't given 24 hours notice to be able to do that. On July 15th, I was given another letter of expectations. I sent an email asking why I was receiving the letter, but I never got clear communication as to why. On November 11th, I met the new director, Scott Pavlock. I don't know if it's worth mentioning. Once I did file my complaint with the Equal Rights Division, I believe it was just 2 days later that Director Greenwood had sent out his resignation from the program, saying that he was resigning. It was just 2 days later, I believe. But he didn't end up resigning until the end of July. So on November 11th, I met with Director Pavlock, and he had left his office door open so that the secretary, Colleen Rapp, could listen in on our conversation. He informed me that I could not tell him about any past concerns or issues prior to him starting, and anything new I could tell him, but he is aware of my my LOEs and my disciplinary letters. He also had shown me a workplace harassment and bullying document that was just created that past July, and told me I could file complaints. Let's see. He also said any future investigations would be conducted by an outside entity, and I said that would be great. And then the next one that happened was not. Also, I was told that I need to adhere to the chain of commands. He told me that, and then I also he told me that on the next day via email. It's ERD 0414 to 413.
Second.
So that went against what Director Greenwood had informed me, but it also goes against Chapter 440 of the Wisconsin HR Handbook, which
Did you
has
say
required
ERD 414? Did that
411.
11? All right, through
13.
412? Oh, through 413. Okay.
So Leah, you see in the email that Leah Moore had also sent an email that morning about the chain of commands. And this goes against Chapter 440 of the Wisconsin Handbook, which says members of management are prohibited from requiring adherence to the chain of command to bring concerns forward. On November 16th, I received an email from a mother's. She had a son in the program, and about she had there were racial marks made about her son, so I forwarded that email on. But it's just that it didn't seem that changes were being made by leadership to even address any potential racial discrimination or concerns about cadets reporting their own concerns on discrimination or being informed about their rights that are contained within the cooperative agreement. Let's see. On November 17th, I met with Kruger in his office. My intentions with the meeting were to inform him that information was not being pushed up the chain of command. So when I would inform my supervisor at the time, Paulson, about issues such as the issues with majors or any other issues, they weren't getting up to the director level. They were somehow stopping. One thing Andrew was supposed to report was my coworker Julie Katona and himself, Andrew Paulson, about their inappropriate comments, tracking, mocking of Kruger, and the accountability. They were supposed to be held accountable for those actions. They were not held accountable the same way that I've been held accountable. After that, then let's see, November 20th, I was given a second letter of expectation. And then also on the 20th, I was given written notice of an investigation. 27th, I submitted my FML paperwork, and I wasn't sure the process, if I was supposed to still come in or not. On December 2nd, I sent a message to Paulson about my FML paperwork and asking if I had to come in. I'd like that. Could you please take that one? It's ERD 037.
Say it again. 037? Okay. Making sure. 037, or did I miss something?
Yes.
Okay. So that's text string.
37.
This one, this text string.
Yes. So I'm asking to come in. If I have to come in, even due to a medical condition, and yes. I'd like that submitted for evidence, please.
Attorney Simcox.
No objection.
Submitted.
Let's see. I believe it was that day then that I had a pre-disciplinary meeting. However, I ultimately was given, I think at that point it was it was a 3-day suspension, I think. No, that was not. That was when I was given I'm not sure what even happened there. This all gets mucky. I requested the documentation from the investigation I sent an email to HR Tom Sandine on December 7th. And then I did have a 3-day suspension. Didn't receive the documentation back from Sandine until I believe it was the 23rd. It was close to when I needed to file a grievance. So I sent an email to HR because I was supposed to only contact Sandine unless there was some type of an issue. And then at that point, then I had served my 3-day suspension and was on FMLA. So on March 18th, I had received a call. If you can please pull up ERD 054.